Welcome to Service Drive Revolution. We have an exciting show for you today, as always, but maybe this one might be a little bit more exciting than usual. We have an announcement about Top Dog and the Jeep Win My Jeep contest. We're going to talk about personality profiles. Do personality profiles work? We're going to answer your questions, and I would say Jeremy putting out the $100 for the best questions. The questions today are really, really good. I wish Jeremy was here, but Jeremy is on vacation. He doesn't care about us. He doesn't love us. He just left for 2 weeks. Can't zoom in. I guess evidently wherever he went, there's no internet. And Christian is out in the field, so I'm all alone today. Also, we're going to talk about terms you should know, which you'll be surprised. I think this is one of the most misunderstood terms, and I've been doing a lot of strategy sessions lately and kind of have come to found that people don't understand what this term is. So we're going to talk about that. But first, did you guys know that Ford was going to release the new Bronco on OJ's birthday, which is so funny. And then, after 25 years, they're releasing the new Bronco on OJ's birthday. And then because of, a little bit of a backlash, they've decided not to do that. But I think it's kind of terrible that you would do it on OJ's birthday. Like, I don't know why you'd want to send some sort of tribute. Maybe I'm giving Ford the benefit of the doubt. They didn't know it was OJ's birthday. I don't know. It's funny though that they were going to do that. Let's why don't we just start off with the questions? What do you think about that? God, is God here? The voice of God?
The voice of God is here.
These questions are so good. I think we should just get right to them.
God smiles upon these questions. Question number 1. What is the standard percentage of gross generated that should be paid to advisors?
Well, that depends on the brand and what type of shop you have. So if you're a dealership, independent, truck, it depends. But I would say that the range is going to be between 6 and 8% of gross. Most of the time when we go into a service type apartment, we find that it's usually 10 to 12% of gross. But what happens is if you get your effective labor rate up and your average per customer up, you can kind of pull that back into line. But you gotta train the advisors and give them a path where they can actually make more money but produce more gross, if that makes sense. But most of the time it's between 6 and 8%. Every financial statement is a little different when you're talking about on the dealership side and manufacturers. Like, just for example, on a General Motors statement, the parts department doesn't participate in the advisor's pay, but you get a parts transfer. On a BMW financial statement, the advisors are split 50-50 between service and parts. Because if you think about it, advisors selling parts as much as they're selling labor. So the brand, makes a difference because in a BMW store, if you're splitting it with a parts department, then it's going to be a little bit different than it is in a General Motors store. So you need to understand if you have the parts transfer or if you're splitting it or what the actual accounting guidelines are for your manufacturer. But good question.
Yes, good question. This next question comes from Facebook. What would be the best way to deliver a no-fault-found diagnostic to a customer without them feeling like you're calling them a liar? The technician's notes do elaborate and say they scanned for codes, road-tested, and could not duplicate. Just curious how to deliver that explanation better.
So I have a formula for this. I have a system for this, and I don't know that I've ever talked about it on the show, but this question is so good that it's going to bring this out of me. But what you want to do with the customers is if you want to deflect it to a boogeyman. That's what you want to do. And so what you want to say to the customer is, this is what we did. We checked it out. But the thing that I've found is that there's a bubble over the dealership. And you could say like 2 miles, 5 miles, depending on your location. When I wrote service, I used to say there's a bubble. And anytime you come inside that bubble, that 2 mile bubble around the dealership, rattles, squeaks, intermittent stalling, everything stops. And so what I would like to do is, if it continues, I'd like to get permission to have a technician drive the car or truck home, or I'd like to have a shop foreman drive it with you, something like that. But we did everything we could, and inside of this invisible boogeyman bubble, it just doesn't happen. And it's common that, you know, you hear it and then you get close to the dealership and it doesn't happen. And then I would just offer to have them road test it with yourself or with a shop foreman or a technician, if you guys are allowed to do that where you work. But that usually is the best way to handle that. But it really is true that a lot of times customers will experience something, and then for some reason, and I don't know why, but for some reason when they get to the dealership, it doesn't happen anymore. And so you kind of want to make fun of that a little bit, deflect to the boogeyman, while, you know, establishing that we've done everything that we can. But it's not uncommon that when you bring it to the dealership, these sort of things disappear. We call it the invisible dome around the dealership. So customers will understand that. They'll get a little bit of a laugh, but it will endear them, and it makes it non-confrontational.
This next question.
Wait, what did you think of that answer, God?
I thought it was a great answer, Chris.
Whenever
well
you can
done.
blame the boogeyman.
Blame the boogeyman. Always. This next question comes from YouTube. I have a question about how to get the customers to engage with you during the walk around when they bring their vehicles in. But also how to do it without feeling like I'm looking for added issues to upsell, and more about making it like I'm keeping them safe and looking out for the customer, which is what it's all about.
Yeah, so it's the thing that you want to do, and maybe get a notepad and a pen and kind of write this down. But number one is you want to treat anybody coming in like if they were your mom or your dad. Like I always say, like if you wouldn't sell it to your mom or your dad, don't sell it. So kind of get off a little bit on what you're going to sell them. Like if your motivation when you're writing them up is just to sell them something, and that's your motivation, you're going to project that, and you're not really coming from the right place. What we want to do, and the place we want to come from internally, is we want to keep our customers in safe and dependable vehicles. That's what we want to do. So if you weren't going to sell it to your mom or your dad, I wouldn't sell it, right? Second thing is you want to be curious. You really want to know the customer on a deeper level and pet the dog. So if you watched our Pet the Dog video, then you understand this. But if you haven't, go to YouTube, just type in Chris Collins, Pet the Dog. The video will come up. Watch that video. But it's a story about how I had a bulldog, my first bulldog, and he was diagnosed with cancer, and kind of what happened when he needed to have surgery to remove the cancer, and the doctor, and what made my ex-wife Satan say, I don't want that doctor to perform surgery, because he wasn't connecting on the level that she was on. And so the thing that I always noticed as a difference in the service drive when I was an advisor, there were eight of us. So there were 7 other advisors. And the thing that I noticed about the other advisors compared to myself, maybe with the exception of one veteran advisor there, her name was Dawn Sly. I think I learned a lot of my approach to customers from her, because she really, really cared about customers and really kind of understood this intuitively, like a lot of people do. But when I would approach a car, I was really just, I don't know, really, really interested in who they were and what they did and why. Like, I just wanted to know why. So I wanted to talk about, like, where are you headed today? Oh, you work there. Well, what do you do there? Oh, well, how does that work? Like, what? So they're in sales. They're a programmer. They work at a brewery, whatever it is. Like, I'd be 5 questions in and we never talked about the car. You have to remember that the car is a commodity. Anybody can service the car. There's nothing special about the car. I know everybody wants to think that the car is special. There's nothing special about the car. What's special is that every customer has a story, and understanding their story, their motivation ends up being your biggest asset, but also just makes your job as an advisor feel like you're doing something good. Like you feel like, I always felt like when I was an advisor, I was actually protecting people from other advisors because I was going to do the right thing and I really cared about them. And so just ask questions and be curious about people. They'll lead you. If you look at their car, their truck, they're going to have bumper stickers. They're going to have things in the car. They're going to be dressed a certain way. But people are just projecting who they are. And if you pay attention to that, it will lead you where you want to go and you'll become genuine friends with your customers. But you don't want your motivation to be, what am I going to sell them? You want your motivation to be, who is this person? What is important to them? What do they do? What is their family life like? How many kids do they have? What are their hobbies? What are their interests? That does it all for you. And then check history and advise them on how they should keep their car safe and dependable. You have to fundamentally believe that maintenance saves customers money in the long run, right? So all of those, you can look at the Car Care Council, all of those facts, but there's tons of numbers out there that if you spend so much in maintenance, you prevent this much in repairs. And also, Jeremy talks about this all the time, that every car out there on the road on average needs a couple hours of work done on it. And that doesn't even include parts. So, there's new cars that need absolutely nothing, and there's old cars. The average car on the road now is something like 12 years old. They probably need 5 or 6 hours worth of work. So selling work and your numbers on an advisor are less about being manipulative and selling the customer something, and it's more about them trusting you and you following up and you offering the work early enough in the day that they can get it done without, having to leave it another day. It's more about the system in your communication than it is about you being good at selling. Advisors don't really have to be good at selling. They just have to be good at caring about customers and being trustworthy, being genuine and authentic, and good with time management. Presenting early enough so that the customer can save time and money and stay in a safe and dependable vehicle. That's our goal more than anything else. So I wouldn't worry too much about selling them. That's the easiest part. The thing you want to do is really be curious about people. Like, really, what do they do for a living? Why? Where did they go to school? Why were they interested? They're a doctor. Oh, what kind of doctor? What, should I quit smoking? I don't know. Like, ask them questions that are relatable, that you learn to be curious and genuinely interested in people. If you're not interested in people and you don't like people and you're not curious, you're not going to be a good service advisor. If you're just worried about yourself and how much money you're going to make, probably the wrong motivation.
This final question comes from YouTube. I've been working at an Infiniti dealership for a year coming this July. I've worked my ass off every single day, and my entire team, service director, advisors, shop foreman, and techs, are all behind me 110% for a service advisor role. I applied, but was denied the position based on a Culture Index personality test issued by the general manager. I want to grow. I know CDK and Dealer Track. I've worked at a convention center hotel during peak hours, been a sales associate in the past. I know what customer service is and how important it is for customer retention and customer base growth. However, it seems like management could care less. Could care less because my online personality test said I was introverted. I'm torn. I found an opportunity for an internal service advisor at a Subaru dealership nearby, and I'm seriously considering it, especially because my whole team even offered to be references on my resume. Now, our porter is quitting, and along with being receptionist, porter, following up with customers, putting together paperwork, and even writing up customers as if I was an advisor, I'll be doing deliveries on top of everything, all with cut pay since the beginning of June or so. Should I stay with my team that I see as family and hope that management decides to notice me eventually, or should I leave and take the opportunity to grow at Subaru?
Yeah, so personality tests. Do personality tests work? So this is a funny subject. I early on in my career, I remember I think it was, well, I'm not going to say who it was, but it was a guru out there teaching leadership, had this sort of affiliate type relationship with one of the personality test questions. And in his leadership training that I had all my managers doing, he wanted us to buy a package of 50 and do a personality test on everybody new coming in. And I was a little bit skeptical about it. But, you know, like anything, if it works, I'm going to use it. So what I did was I said, okay, if these personality tests are good, let's take our top salespeople and our top advisors and let's give them the personality test and see if we would hire them. And guess what? We wouldn't have hired them. And if you look at the top service advisors in our comp, the advisors that win advisor of the year, because this has happened many times where we've been at the top dog event and we've had the top advisors in the comp that win, that write the most parts and labor. They have the highest hours per RO. We have advisors in there that have the best CSI in the country. And they're introverts. They're not extroverts. They're quiet. They're a little awkward. They have weird hobbies, but they're amazing service advisors. But they're not outgoing. They're definitely not the life of the party. In fact, they're probably closer to accountants in personality, really. There's a few of them that are extroverts, but for the most part, they're more like me. And I'm an introvert. I register as an introvert, and I was an amazing advisor. If you look at Hassan, who was one of the best advisors we've ever seen when he was an advisor, he was not an extrovert. He was an introvert, very steady and calm and, predictable. So my experience with these personality tests is they're a lot like horoscopes. They really are. Like they're written to kind of please people, and managers feel like they should do something. Even the companies that make the personality test will tell you that you should only use it as like 25% of the decision making. So they're like horoscopes, honestly. The best indicator of who will be a good advisor and who will be a good salesperson or a good technician is past performance. That's the best indicator. If somebody's the number one service advisor at a Toyota dealership out of 12 advisors and they have the best CSI and the best numbers, I don't care what their personality test says. Jordan Peterson talks about this a lot because he created a personality test, and I took it. And he built this whole company where he's trying to sell his personality test to companies as a screening device for employees, and nobody liked it because it was so negative and honest. And it's funny, like when maybe I'll find it and read it to you guys. I was trying to find it today, but I couldn't in time for the taping of this. But literally, like, it says stuff in there like, out of 100 people, you're last place in this and that. I mean, it's brutal, but it really tells you like who you are, and the questions are, well, the test is designed to help you really understand who somebody is at the core. But personality tests, honestly, are like horoscopes. It doesn't, I would advise you to go test whoever this general manager is. Go test your top people if you have top people. If your average car salesperson selling 8 cars, maybe not. But if you have a salesperson selling 40 cars, go test them and see how they do on the personality test. You'll be surprised that they really are garbage at the end of the day. I'm sorry. The only one that I've ever seen that is something that, works is the Colby one. And it's not really a personality test. It's a strengths test. So it tells you if somebody is good at implementing something, follow up, that sort of thing. Those work pretty good. But even that has been a little misleading with really, really top performers, because I think it ends up at the end of the day, even when I look at myself, that performance and drive is more about something inside of you that doesn't show up on a test or you can't explain. Like, I know people underestimate me. They always underestimate me, which I've grown to really, really like. But there's this thing inside of me that nobody understands, that is a drive that, like I said, it wouldn't show up on a test. So I would suggest that you go somewhere else. Leave that dealership. Go right service somewhere else. Be the top advisor. Just do not stop until you're the top advisor. Just collect customers. Like, make friends. Connect with 5. I say in the training, like, if you connected with 2 or 3 customers on a deeper level every day, connect with 10 customers on a deeper level every day. Like, just collect customers, make friends, learn how to motivate your technicians, and offer, every inspection sheet, be super consistent, and then just mail your numbers someday to that general manager. It's like, just put them in the mail and go, hey, we got 6 advisors. Look at me. I'm an introvert. Get a copy of that personality test and staple it to it. That's what I would do. Now watch, this is one of our clients, and the general manager is going to call me and be like, how could you say that? But I'm not a big fan of personality tests. They're voodoo. They don't really predict performance. Performance predicts performance. Was that the last question, God?
There are no further questions.
The voice of God. Thank you, voice. I'm kind of envious of your voice, honestly. Like, if I could boom like that, if I had the voice of God. Oh.
It's all in the diaphragm.
Welcome to the Chris Collins Top 10 Countdown.
See, you're doing it.
This week at number 10, Anthrax, Among the Living. Right? No? Okay. Next thing on my list here is to talk about the Top Dog event, and I've been dying. God, you guys don't even understand how bad I want to give away this Jeep. The COVID thing has thrown a huge wrench into it, because the way that giving away my Jeep Win Chris's truck contest is that you're comparing previous numbers to being on our program to your new numbers on our program, and during COVID, nobody can really do that because, everybody's traffic went down. And although we have clients that have had record months and done great, it's not fair to everybody across the board, because different regions were affected in different ways. And so we're going to extend it. I don't know. Like, we thought we were going to announce that we were just going to have the Top Dog event in February. And then we got word that probably won't work, because places still are going to be affected by then. And that is going to be the beginning of the flu season. And they're predicting that that'll be the second wave, the peak of the second wave, and nobody's going to want to travel. So here's the thing about the Top Dog event this year. Like, we had Jay Leno lined up. It just breaks my heart. Like, we had so much going on before COVID. We were going to announce that Jay Leno was going to speak at Top Dog. We were going to give away the truck. Like, there was going to be so many fun things that we were going to do, and we kind of have to wait. So I still want to give away the truck, because trust me, I want to get a different car. The idea here is I was going to give away my car every year, and I wanted the new Corvette. So I was going to try to swing a deal with one of our Chevy customers where I got one of the new Corvettes, and that was going to be the next one that we were going to give away. But we don't know what's going to happen. So The news here about Top Dog is that we don't know. We're going to play it by ear. We would love to do it in February or March, but if the flu season kicks up and COVID is having its second wind, we're obviously not going to ask people to travel and be in a room together. So we will see, keep your ears peeled, and we'll keep announcing where we're at with that. But just kind of a circumstance that we're all enduring, and it is what it is. Next segment, let's talk about terms you should know. It surprises me. I do these strategy sessions where I go through somebody's service department or their shop. I go through their numbers, and most people don't understand what effective labor rate is. It blows me away. What most service managers or shop owners want to talk about is what their posted labor rate is. And I was trying to think of an analogy, how you describe what a posted labor rate is. But a posted labor rate is a fictional number that doesn't matter. It's what you hope you collected for every hour, but you're not selling every hour of labor for that fictional number. So at the end of the day, if you're doing oil changes at a lower effective labor rate, you're doing maintenance, whatever your pricing strategy is, should you even have a pricing strategy, or if you're just following what the competition is doing, which is probably the most dangerous pricing strategy, but what most people in our industry are doing, you'll have a very low effective labor rate. So you'll say, oh, well, my labor rate's $120. And then we look at it and your effective labor rate is $80. And so the formula for effective labor rate is it's your labor dollars, so your sold labor dollars divided by your hours sold in the shop. So you take how much you sold in labor and divide it by how many hours were sold in the shop, and that gives you your effective labor rate. Now, a couple things that you want to understand about that are variables is, one is if you have hourly techs and you're not having them flag, then that isn't giving you a true cost of labor. And so you want to have all of your technicians actually flagging. In a lot of shops that I run into, especially in truck and heavy duty truck, a lot of the shops, their techs are hourly. They're not flagging. Nobody's tracking it. And so you don't really have a real number to figure out what your effective labor rate is. So it's really important that for this number to mean anything and to understand, what do we actually collect for every hour of labor we sell? Is it $80? Is it $90? But that's at the end of the day what you're going to pay your bills with. And so what are we actually collecting for every hour of labor that we sell? Not the fictional number. When it's all said and done, when we take fleet accounts into consideration, our loss leaders, oil changes, heavy line, whatever it is, all of our labor, what do we collect on average for every hour that we sell? That is your effective labor rate. And you want to have everybody flagging. You actually, the effective labor rate becomes truer when you really have a shop that is vested in how many hours they're flagging, right? Because you're going to sell more hours, but it also gives you a true idea of what the number is. Because if they're not flagging for oil changes, if you're just running those through as zeros, but you're collecting the labor, it throws your effective labor rate off. So the lesson here, doesn't matter what you have as a posted labor rate. Really forget about that because it's a fictional number. What really matters is, what do I collect for every hour of labor I sell? And the formula for that is my labor dollars divided by hours sold in the shop. That gives you your effective labor rate. And I think that's it. Did I miss anything, Voice of God, or are we good?
We're good.
Awesome. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in, and we will see you again next week. Hopefully I'll have a sidekick next week. We'll see you again on Service Drive Revolution. thanks for watching this episode of Service Drive Revolution. If you have any questions, go ahead and post them in the comments below. Make sure you subscribe and hit the bell icon so you're notified when we post new episodes. I'm Chris Collins, and you can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Chris Bulldog Collins. And I'll see you again on the next episode.